And welcome back to the Under Centre podcast with Dara and Fionn here. Don't forget you can follow us on our social channels at Under Centre Pod on Instagram and the same on Twitter at Under Centre Pod. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel as well. Just search Under Centre Podcast. If also subscribe to our audio podcast, the exact same thing. Just search Under Centre Podcast because we will be releasing each one of these each one of these interviews, I should say, as individual podcasts as well. So if you don't want to listen to the whole show or watch the whole show, you can pick and choose which interview you'd like to watch. Fionn, I think we're going to bring on our next guest.
Yep.
We are delighted to have a former Munster and Ireland rugby player, Tommy O'Donnell, joining us on this show to look ahead to Sunday's game. Tommy, it's great to speak to you. How are you?
I'm great, lads. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. No problem. I'm delighted to have you on to talk a bit of NFL, looking ahead to Sunday's game. But the one question we're asking all of our guests now tonight, and it is probably the most important question I'll ask you now, throughout our whole next 20 minutes or so, is what would your Super Bowl routine be on Sunday? Now, would you like to watch it at home by yourself, have friends over, go out, and then this is the most important part. What's the food or snack of choice that you have while watching the game?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I haven't really had a routine on because it's my first year out of rugby, so I can actually finally kind of blow the wheels off this year. I haven't even put too much thought into it. Up until now was very much it was get the kids to bed and stay up, and it was probably, my wife doesn't have much interest in the NFL, so she might, if she could, she'd stay up for the halftime show. I've often been in bed and she's woken up for the halftime show and then nodded off back to sleep. But I suppose because we'd always training Monday morning in the month of February, we always would have had training the next day. So it was get it in while you could, and back to sleep as quick as possible. So I'm looking forward now to staying up for the whole thing and then taking it all in this year and enjoying every bit of it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We're actually putting I wouldn't say menu, but we were talking about what we were going to have over the night, and I think we're going to try and look out at getting maybe some sort of maybe a pork shoulder. We'll slow cook that on the Saturday, make some pulled pork nachos and maybe some chicken wings and stuff like that. We'll go full out. We like to go full out when it comes to the Super Bowl Sunday, but like your wife, my partner would have no real interest in it either. She would probably stay up as far as the Super Bowl show or halftime show, then go to sleep as soon as the third quarter starts.
Yeah, I'm the same as well. Like you, Tommy, like it's too late. I end up not eating any snacks really. It's just about trying to stay awake and get it all in before you got to go to bed and get up and go to work the next morning. Yeah. I've never really had the Monday off. So like you, I'm the same. There's not really snacks involved, to be honest. Just eat your dinner, same as usual, and try and watch the game as much as you can.
Yeah. Well, this is, like you said, it's your first year without it, so you're going to have to do something for it. You're going to have to do something big now for this. If you don't have to get up for training then the next morning, you have those couple of extra hours maybe in bed. Obviously, if the kids allow it.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe a few prop bets throughout to keep me going.
Nice. Oh yeah.
All different things. Yeah. I've already I listened to the Pat McAfee show, and he reckons that the opening kickoff never goes for touchback because the ball is so shiny and new and not kicked in. It's going straight to Canton afterwards. So that's my go-to. That's what I'm going to start with. Anyways.
That's an interesting little insider one. Now that's a good one. Yeah, that might come true. All right.
But he was a kickoff punter who actually kicked off in the Super Bowl. So he knows all about it. He knows you're just trying to kick this ball as hard as you can. But obviously, because it hasn't had those 20 minutes in a room being wellied around the place and broken in, that it's just not going to travel as well.
Yeah. I do wonder, though, because the Rams had the old boxing commentator, Michael Buffer, introduce every home game this year. I wonder if they do the same thing, because there were I think I heard a few reports of some teams that when they kicked off, purposely kicked over to his side because they wanted to see if he'd run away or not. So we'll see if that happens again on Sunday. But tell us, before we get into the game a bit, how has retirement been treating you now?
It's good now. I think my body is definitely thanking me for like that, not having to get up on Monday mornings and go straight into the gym and the review meetings. But you'd miss certain elements. You'd miss the crack. You'd miss the slagging and just the absolute banter that goes on and around it. Definitely, look, it's a tough sport as well. Like, Monday mornings of a loss were tough as well. You really had to own up to yourself. You'd be honest with yourself going in for reviews, even on the days where you won, but you maybe didn't play well. You had to be honest to yourself. So there's, a little bit less of that now this year, but I'm doing an MBA in UL at the moment, and I've taken on a new job as a business development manager for a water company here that we're going bringing out a new range of water filtration units and dispensers. So that's a new challenge, a new side of business, basically learning everything from the creating the brand, creating the range, all the way to going and selling it now in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, and I just remember, like, obviously you had your time playing with Munster and Ireland, and there's always one abiding memory that I have, because it just happened to be that I was like in Cork at the time, in Munster. I think it was 2015. Around this time of the year, actually, Six Nations, you scoring a try in Italy, breaking away from a load of defenders. But I want to know, like, obviously, you probably asked a lot, like, who's your favorite? What's your favorite moment? Your favorite try? I want to know the opposite. Who was the player or the team you dreaded coming up against, or you didn't really want to, or not that you didn't want to, but that you were thinking, oh, geez, I'm in for a long day here now against this lot?
It's different. It's different because I suppose Leinster were tough because we didn't really get the, we couldn't really get the best of them, and it's hard to catch them because they always got up for us. Like you chat to any of the Leinster players, when it came to a week of Munster game, doesn't matter how good they were going in the season, they went up another level, and we were trying to always to chase them as well. So they were tough. Like they were going to be fast and physical games, but then there's other teams then in the league where traveling away to Glasgow, it was always a tough one because Scottstown, it's a tough venue, and it's that further bit north, so the weather can be a little bit harsher and tougher. And sometimes when we were playing them, it was without our full host of internationals, so it was a tougher assignment for us. So like, there was elements of it. There was every team kind of was hard to play and hard to play for different reasons as well. Dragons at sometimes was tough as well because their pitch didn't hold up. Depends if you got them at the start of the season, the grass was nice, it was a good green pitch and you could play a good game of rugby. But if you got them around Christmas time, it was a quagmire, and you were like, oh god. And they loved it. They loved it. Like they really loved it, the fact that you were coming into their patch as well. So different teams had different elements, and you had to take them on, you to steer away from their strengths the whole time.
And was during your time obviously with Munster and playing with Ron O'Gara, did he ever bring up the Miami Dolphins much and the proposed kicking career he was going to have over there in Miami?
I don't know, but whatever it did, I think it definitely benefited his contract that he was negotiating. By the time I came into the squad, I think that was about 5 or 6 years in the past. So I don't think you can use it again, John. Contracts 2-year cycles, so he couldn't use it again.
That's it. One and you're done there, Ron. And next time we won't believe you. First time, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Listen, tell us a little bit about. Well, actually, before I'd love to actually find out what have you thought about the Irish team recently. Obviously, they found a nice run of form now under new coach Andy Farrell, and beating the All Blacks in the autumn and having a great start to the Six Nations last week against Wales. The team seems to be coming together quite nicely.
Yeah, they're doing great. Fantastic results in the autumn, to beat the All Blacks and to do it so comprehensively. They're playing a fantastic style of rugby, and they're like, every player seems to be relishing the opportunities. They know their roles really well, but they're all well able to express their physicality, and they're all able to express their physical attributes. And you speak to any of the lads coming out of the camp, they love it. It seems to be a different vibe up there. Everyone's really happy. They're saying it's some of the most fun camps they're having. So like when you have that kind of environment and culture, and lads are free to express themselves and grow their skills, and they know that they can put the time into their skills and and do that, you're seeing the benefits then on the field, the confidence and performance, and lads are playing. They're not playing within themselves. They're playing to their full potential and just going out and enjoying it. Now, that being said, like Six Nations week to week is a different tournament, and this week they have a fair task. I think Ireland, I think we've won twice or 3 or 4 times away in the Stade de France in the history of it. So like France are going to up their game. We're missing Johnny Sexton, so it's going to be interesting. The guys now who've been playing well, they're going to have to carry it on, and they're going to have to lead from the front and just give Joey that armchair ride where he can sit in and, yes, play the game the way Johnny plays it, but also he had to, put his own stamp on it and be able to put his, be able to control the game the way he wants to.
Yeah. Well, let's move on then to the NFL side of things, and tell me a little bit how you got interested in American football and how you settled on becoming a Dallas Cowboys fan.
So obviously when you're a college student in about 2007, I was in the Munster Academy, and you can't be going out on the Sunday night and rocking up to the Munster Academy then the next morning worse for wear, because obviously your career won't progress too much from that. So that left me and the lads I was living at the time sitting in on Sunday nights, and what else are we going to do? Asher, we'll watch the NFL. I always had an interest growing up from movies and stuff. I was finally out of the house. I was able to go buy Sky Broadband or not Sky Broadband, Sky Sports in for the €20 a month or what it was at the time. So we chipped in together and we broke down the monthly costs and we said we'll do it. And from there then Tony Romo and Terrell Owens had a connection at that stage, and I really liked that star uniform. I liked that shiny star on the side of the helmet. I thought they were playing really good football. In fairness, they were, until they came to playoffs and capitulate year on year on year and year.
It still hasn't got any better, Tommy. It still hasn't got any better.
I've actually become a reluctant Cowboys fan. I watch like this. I'm like, next time I wake up on the Monday morning, I kind of go, oh, how did they get on? Oh, they won. Okay, don't let your confidence get up. And, you finally sit down and watch the first full game of the season and they lose in the playoffs. So, I knew from the first play, I knew we were in trouble here. I knew that San Francisco were just going to run it down our throats.
I know you talked a little bit there earlier about Pat McAfee. I don't know if you've also seen Stephen A. Smith over there on ESPN. He likes to make a big deal out of trolling the Cowboys and just telling everybody, wait a minute, they'll get in their way eventually. There's no way they can get through a whole season. So as we were talking off air, I'm obviously a Washington now Commanders fan, so there's a little bit of rivalry there. So I have to say, given our own problems, it's kind of nice when your biggest rival also has their own issues to have to deal with, I have to say.
Yeah, you wouldn't mind, but it's just the publicity that Jerry Jones brings with it, and this kind of little deal he's got negotiated that the Cowboys always seem to get that primetime slot. Mm-hmm. They're always, and you probably hate it as a Commanders fan, that we always get that center stage.
And it's always Troy Aikman on the commentary team as well.
Yeah,
or now you have Romo.
That's what just makes it that little bit harder, that like, okay, just for once in prime time, let's do it. But it was kind of like Green Bay throughout the season this year. There was just little inklings that something was going to go wrong in playoffs. With Green Bay, it was down to their special teams. You knew that the special teams unit this year wasn't good enough. And when the pressure came on, finally, it was special teams that gave up. With the Cowboys this year, it was clock management and situation management. We were just doing one or two things, just not managing our clock, just not managing throwing the ball when you should be running it, and just killing the clock. And finally it came back to us then with the Dak getting checked by the referee and losing 13 seconds, when you can see what the Kansas City Chiefs can do with 13 seconds and what we did with 18 and still couldn't convert.
And as a Cowboys fan, we've had this debate quite often, because two of the biggest contracts nearly in American football for the quarterback position and the running back position are both held by Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. Do you think they've performed up to that money in the last couple of seasons, or are you a bit disappointed with the output given the amount of money you've invested in that position?
Yeah, so the quarterback is tough, because in the NFL they always kind of say it's always that next man up mentality. So Jared Goff got paid, who wasn't a top quality quarterback, but he was he's not the top tier. He's not the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, but he got paid like a top 5 quarterback. And sorry, I just need to plug in power here.
No problem.
All right.
So he got paid like a top 5 quarterback. And look, Dak, in fairness, I was a little bit reluctant, and he got paid fair enough, but he actually came back from his injury and he was playing fairly well. I think Zeke is the one that I have trouble with getting paid that much, especially for Addy's position, for what he's done. I don't think he doesn't break a game open. If he does break a tackle, he's not going to take it to the house, and he's yet to really be that grinder. Like I know he says feed me, but is yet to really grind a game out. He's not a Derrick Henry. Like, he's not given 20, 30 touches and he's going to absolutely just wear the defense down kind of back. So yeah, so I'm a reluctant Cowboys fan. I'm very, very critical. I look at other teams and I'm like, oh God, if only we Joe Burrow, and if only we, so yeah.
But hey, like you were talking about, like the show that is Jerry Jones, being the owner, GM, the everything of the Cowboys. But like, the one positive thing is, like, when you look at Hard Knocks at the start of the season and Jerry World that he built, basically the little community that he built, that like when they had the drone flying through everything, you just look at it and just like that's a team facility. That's an NFL team facility. And you're just like, what the hell is going on? Like, myself and Fionn play American football over here in Dublin, and we're thinking, jeez, we're lucky to get onto a pitch on a Sunday, to train, and they have like a whole like shopping complex and everything.
Yeah, and if you injure your ankle, you basically walk into the equivalent of the Santry Sports Surgery Clinic. Like, they have some of the best surgeons in America just waiting there, and obviously they're running their private practice and they've got state-of-the-art facilities, but it's an amazing complex for what he's done. Even if you're a high school quarterback in Dallas, you want to play in his mini dome, which can house 20,000 people. It's incredible.
Tommy, obviously the rugby season tends to run alongside the American football season. I don't know, have you had a chance to make it over and see a game live? Or obviously you've told us earlier you're really diving into life after retirement, so you're still a busy man. But is there any maybe travels on the cards to go over and see a game?
Yeah, definitely. It's always something I want to do. So definitely have to hit up London. I've yet to do it because it just never, with match schedules and stuff, it never fell. And so that's definitely something that's on the cards for this year. We were planning pre-COVID, to get over to the likes of Carolina or one of the warmer, Tampa, one of the warmer climates. But then obviously COVID came along and those plans have never been spoken about since. So I must reignite that WhatsApp group and see what we can get going and see, for October 2022, what can we hit up.
And is there much of an NFL following in the rugby community at the level you were playing at, in the Munster ranks and in the Irish ranks?
Yeah, there would be. You'd be surprised. There's always different pockets. Fantasy rugby is obviously becoming bigger. I struggled for years to get a fantasy league up and going, and then when we did, all of a sudden there was two. There was we had the main league, and then we had the break-off league of guys who were like, oh, I wanted to play. And in the year, then they used us that we two lads who left the league. The next guys, then it was like a feeder league. They jumped up and they were ready to go. They'd learned all the tricks. They'd been roasted by a few bad trades. So they were seasoned vets then when they got up then to the main group. Yeah. But I think fantasy football is definitely helping it grow. I think, like I said, in the rugby community, if you're in on a Sunday night, there's nothing better from 6 o'clock on. You sit down, you throw on Red Zone, and you just get the feast of athleticism and the spectacle of it coming into your TV on a Sunday night.
Yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned, they're trying to get over to the London games. Now we're going to have the option of Germany from next season too now. So we'll have Munich or Frankfurt. So it's definitely a lot more choices to go and see games in the future. And hey, you never know. They had games over here. I think, what was it, 97? Was it 96, 97? The Steelers and the Bears played in Crow Park. So you never know. We might hopefully get it again. We obviously had the college games to sort of keep us interested in this August and next August. So we'll see what happens there. Vince, I want to ask about one of the guys on the Cowboys, because as someone like yourself that played in the flanker position with the big boys, what do you make of Micah Parsons?
Incredible. I love Brian Baldinger on a Monday morning this year was just breaking down all of Micah Parsons, just like for a first year rookie, the stuff he was doing to seasoned veterans. And then you see in the Pro Bowl, he took on the fastest player. I know the cheetah wasn't going full out, but still, for him, he's a linebacker and he still factors in one of the fastest players in the NFL. So he's just from a skills perspective and from an athleticism perspective, he's a defense. He's an attack, an offense's nightmare, because you can put him anywhere. You can put him on the edge. You can put him in the middle linebacker in coverage, and he can do a job for you. So it's just as long as he keeps injury free now, and we can put a couple more athletic players around him and just allow him to just go out and dominate for the next few years.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned. It's funny. it's funny actually that you mention injuries, because it is unfortunate part of the game that will never get rid of. And of course, you had obviously injuries in your time playing. But how impressed were you with Joe Burrow coming back after nearly basically like losing a leg nearly? Last season, to come back and to lead the Bengals to the Super Bowl on Sunday. I think we've lost him for a second there.
You give it a minute and see if we can make it back. The joys of live TV.
Are we back?
Oh,
we're back. Yeah, we got you again, Tommy. Yeah.
Okay, lost you there.
Sorry, did you hear the question there? I don't know if you got it there.
You were just starting to talk about Joe Burrow.
Yes, I just wanted. What did you think of Joe Burrow and the fact that he's come back from such a serious injury last year to now lead the Bengals to the Super Bowl this Sunday?
I think it just speaks to his character and his personality that he's just unrattable. He's still getting chased around as much this year as he was last year. The Bengals are leading the league in the amount of times getting sacked, and they're in the Super Bowl. So I think that's just a testament to him about how much he is unrattable. I was listening to a quarterback recently talk about how getting sacked is demoralizing, but I don't think Joe Burrow gets demoralized if he gets sacked. I think he just gets up and dusts himself off and goes again. Like even the way he walks into the stadium, he obviously puts time and a bit of effort into how he's going to look cool heading into the stadium, but it still doesn't affect him. It still doesn't distract him at all from the game. So he's able to take all the fanfare and all those things associated with the spectacle and just perform. So it'll be very interesting to see now. Like, I think he's the kind of guy that he won't be rattled by the Super Bowl. He's won a national championship. As a rookie, he's been chased around the field. In his second year, he's taken to a Super Bowl. So I think he's going to perform this Sunday night.
And on the other side of the pitch, we have the Rams, obviously, who are star-studded at almost every position imaginable, except, you might argue, at quarterback, where Matthew Stafford is going to play his first Super Bowl after being in the league for 13 seasons. How much pressure do you think he's feeling now coming into this game, given a not unformidable Bengals defense he's going to have to go up against?
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier, but I think Matthew Stafford will take the mentality that, like, he was on the Detroit Lions. He went 0-16. He went 1-15, 2-14 for a couple of seasons. Like, he had to face some of the biggest teams in the league coming in, just looking to bully his team, and yet he still put on performances. So, like, he was constantly on the cusp of like losing his job. But he was on a bad team. He was the only person playing well. Yet now he's actually put in a good place. His coach has been to the Super Bowl in the last few years, has learned a few mistakes. I think Sean McVay will be that much calmer. So in his ear, will give him better advice and better, better reads and better plays. So no, I think it's fantastic for Stafford. I like coming into last year's free agency. I really wanted him to go to a good team, and I think, it would be interesting to see if he'd end up on the Colts, instead of Carson Wentz. He's that good a quarterback. Any team he ended up on, which had a good defense and a semi-decent offense, we're going to do well.
Jeez, could you imagine Carson Wentz on the Rams? Yeah, I think this would be a very different Super Bowl if that was the case. No disrespect to Carson, he is a decent quarterback, but he's not leading that Rams team to the Super Bowl. But Tommy, we've been asking all of our guests as well, what matchups they're looking forward to in this, and I must say the majority is looking at that Rams defensive line versus that Bengals O line. Like you mentioned, they've allowed a lot of sacks this year, 9 against the Titans alone in one game. And with the likes of Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, Joe Burrow could be in for a tough night if that O-line can't step up.
Yeah, because Donald is unblockable when he's triple teamed. So, and then you have like Von Miller, who's already been an MVP in a Super Bowls. But I think that Bengals team are going to take on the Joe Burrow mentality. They're going to bend, but they're not going to break. If they get sacked 9 times again, I think they'll still keep fighting. If they're 20 points down in the first half, they'll come out and they'll keep fighting. So that won't be over until I think the final, until the ball is knelt down or the final score happens. So that battle is going to keep going throughout the game. Then you're talking number one on number one. You're talking Jalen Ramsey versus Jamar Chase. That's going to be huge. Are they going to leave him one-on-one, or are they going to try double him and then will they double Jamar and then put like Jalen on the next best receiver? So there's a whole different matchup of how they're going to roll coverages and how they're actually just going to try to take away the weapons. But it's the Bengals number 2 receiver stepped up in the last game, and I think we'll see that again. And Joe Burrow has that mentality that yes, he might be covered, but if he gets a sniff of a one-on-one, he's going to throw it, or if he gets a sniff of a window, he's going to throw it, because he has that much of a connection and has that much of a telepathic connection. So it'll be very interesting to see then who comes out on top on that, because you could lock a guy down for 30 plays. He only needs one then to bust it wide open.
No, you're definitely right. And like you were mentioning, the secondary receivers that the Bengals have are no slouches as well, in Higgins and Boyd. So if they do sort of, double team or give all their attention on Chase, I don't think Burrow will have any problems throwing to secondary receivers, and they can rack up the yards and get the scores for them, no problem. But listen, Tommy, we're going to wrap it up here in a second, but obviously we're going to have to ask you, who do you think is going to win this Sunday?
I know who I want to win.
That's always the question, huh?
I want the Bengals to win, but I think maybe with just who might eke it is the Rams. Just considering the billions of dollars and everything that's been put into it, it's the home Super Bowl, I think, and then it's just that offensive line, just might eke it then. So It's fantastic. Look, I'd love either way. I'd love Stafford to finally win one. I'd love Joe Burrow, the legend of Joe Burrow, to continue, because you just love seeing these young quarterbacks come out in the league. So yeah, my heart says the Bengals, but my brain is leaning towards the Rams.
Are you going to give us a score?
31-29.
Oh, nice. Okay, good.
I'm not sure going.
I do that all the time. I do that all the time. I always spit out scores. I'm like, I don't even know if that's even likely, but sure, look.
Well, that's it. You're going for the over though, which is good. You're going for, so I can think the total points at the moment is 49. It's tearing between 48.5 and 49.5. So you're thinking there's definitely going to be a good couple of scores in this game.
I think so. I think they're just 2 run and gun, kind of quarterbacks. I think that I think the over will be. It'll definitely be more looser than 2 defensive units going at each other.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. Tommy, we really appreciate the time you're taking to speak to us today. We've enjoyed the chat massively. I think we all hope the Bengals do win on Sunday for sure. If not, at least one, we enjoy watching it, and 2, some of our bets come true. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. If we can come out of it in the plus, with the money, then I think we'll all be happy by the end of Sunday/Monday morning.
Yeah, excellent, lads. Thanks very much for having me. It's always great to challenge yourself on your knowledge, because you think you know so much, and then you have to go and actually finally say it in front of an audience. So I hope now that I think I've said the right things, and but I really enjoyed it. Thanks a million.
Don't worry about it. Our two listeners will really enjoy it, you know. So it's totally fine, and that's just going to be us rewatching it back anyway.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Well, look, listen. Like I said, enjoy the game. Hopefully, the Bengals keep us all happy. Like I said, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to be looking at the Bengals side of the game with John Sheeran of the Cincy Jungle blog post.